Don't let other people put you out of character. I say that though, but sometimes you need to move mad, because I feel like we're probably living in a simulation. Stop projecting, but you can't always make people do things they don't want to do. And even if they do the things they don't want to do, they're going to despise you for it. So hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Belinda. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. So this is going to be like my end of year / new year reflection. Let's get straight into it. So my first point, I've been writing this down, really important lesson actually for me has been forgiving your parents. And hear me out, like, as you get older, obviously when you get in like your 30s and late 20s and stuff, as much as maybe some of your childhood situations did not kind of give you the best of starts, I think you've also got to acknowledge that sometimes your parents were doing the best they had with the knowledge that they had at that particular time. Now somebody could argue like, okay, how come, you know, they haven't changed as they've got new information, blah blah blah. And to that I'll say, just learn to, some people will never change, basically. Some people will never change. You'd find that these people are set in their ways, they're not going to change, their behavior is not going to change. However, that should not, because at the end of the day you're still very young, that shouldn't be, or you might even be older to be honest, but at some point in your life your parents' actions have to stop informing how you're dealing with the general public. Like, go to therapy if you need to, like work on these things that you need to work on in order to be in a better place yourself, and because that will also ultimately help you interact better with anybody else that comes into your life. So yeah, I think, yeah, forgive your parents if you can. And obviously I'm talking in a generic sense, or like, there's some things that I think we should have the grace to forgive. Most of us, we find that we can even do better than our parents ever did at maybe a similar age that we were when they had us. So just work on making sure that you're doing better for yourself, and like you're basically doing whatever you can to make sure that you're not repeating the same pattern that maybe you were exposed to, and just kind of make it like a known fact in your head that you are going to be better than what you were exposed to, so that that cycle doesn't continue. Like, at some point the chains have to be broken, because yeah, our kids, if God blesses us with any, deserve better, I think. Yeah, and I think it's up to us to try and learn that in order for us to provide the best that we can for them, and that would include having agency over certain aspects of our adult life. The other thing really that I have learned, you might, it's a theme here, but it's kind of like love on the people that are loving on you, because I think sometimes we get so derailed in loving people that don't really show particular interest. Not that these kinds of things should be transactional all the time, but at the end of the day, if you're constantly running on an empty cup because you're too busy filling everybody else's cup and nobody's filling your cup, there's only so far you will ever go, and there's only so much use you can be to the people that you love. So where possible, try to set boundaries, try to have limits with how far you can go. Try to check in with yourself every so often and say, how am I feeling? Am I ready to do this? Do I want to do this? You know, and be able to be like, no, I can't do that day. Do you know what I mean? Because I know this, because this is something that I have kind of struggled with, like, where it's one of those things where I would say yes to plans, and then I go there and I do the stuff and I'm tired, or I'll say yes to seeing somebody at a time where maybe I would have ideally said no, but then you see that person and then now you're exhausted, and then like the whole vibe is off simply because you did not check in with yourself. And maybe you thought if you told this person, no, I can't see you at this particular time, maybe they're gonna take it away. But I think people who love you regardless will never feel like that without checking in with you first. So for example, let's say if somebody that really respected me, like truly respected me and truly loved on me, asked me to do something for them, and I was like, no, I can't do it on that day, even without reason, I'd like to think that people will be like, okay, she probably had something going on, or she, you know, the time was not available, or maybe she even needs to focus on herself for now. Like, it's never ever what I'm also kind of trying to learn is other people's actions are not always a reflection on you. Like, they are doing what they know to do in particular situations. So you need to know yourself, or try to know yourself well enough to know what's going to trigger you, how to move forward, and also discern whether or not you want to keep subjecting yourself to said events over and over again. I'm talking like this, but I know really and truly I'm mostly talking to myself because I fall into this trap. But yeah, no, don't overextend yourself. Set your boundaries, speak to people, because you know, open communication, you can never go wrong. Like, communicate with people. The people that want you and want to make sure that you're good and everything's good, they'll always communicate back. The people that don't. People are people. You can't always, you know, influence. Well, you can influence, but you can't always make people do things they don't want to do. And even if they do the things they don't want to do, they're going to despise you for it. So it's best you just let people be, and then just focus on yourself. Having faith in the fact that things that are meant for you will eventually be yours. So I have been stressing over a lot of things when it really, honestly, is just like, at the end of the day, God has planned out life for you the way that it's going to be. It's probably your place to learn the lessons that you're meant to learn so that you can move on. But ultimately, don't try to stick yourself to a situation because you feel like that's what is meant for you, or you feel like that's what you deserve, even though there's a lot of red flags like around the situation probably telling you should move on, you should move on. And I think sometimes we undervalue ourselves, so we know what we deserve, but we don't go for that. We always go for less than what we deserve. Like, say you know you want somebody that's going to love you a particular way, then you meet somebody and they're not loving you the way that you would, the way that you respond, I guess, because we all have different love languages, right? And let's say you haven't communicated this, or let's say you have communicated it and the response hasn't been like the greatest. That's a situation that you can leave, because all it means is maybe said person just needs to work on themselves, or they're just not the right person for you. Or if they are the person for you, perhaps if you vocalized something and nothing has changed, that is your sign to maybe move on so that they can do the work that they need to do on themselves. And if you lot were meant to be in the future, your paths will somehow align, and you end up with, you know, whatever it is that you were hoping for. But yeah, I'm kind of getting to that space of things will be, and I cannot be in control of everything, which is the one thing that I'm struggling to let go of. But it is like control. It's kind of like life happens how life happens, and what can you do? Honestly, what can you do about it? So like, at the end of the day, you need to be the best person you are. And this is the other thing, like, take people with a pinch of salt. Like, people always show that they're this person, but they're not. And half the time, why I say that is, as you interact with people, you have schemas that you're using to fill in the gaps as well, because you never ever truly get all the information from a few interactions with the person. Half the time your brain is adding in bits. So that is kind of what we also need to kind of work on. Like, stop projecting, like stop thinking this person is doing this because of this. Sometimes we have an idea of what somebody's going through, but we never truly know why they're doing what they're doing unless we sit down and ask and speak to them, and they're like, actually Bells, I am doing this because of this. So try to not project, and try to take people with a pinch of salt. If they tell you they've been this, cool, they've been that. If it doesn't work for you, take yourself out of the situation. I think that's the one thing that I'm going to take into 2022. Like, learn to take yourself out of situations instead of staying in situations and blaming people, of, you know, being annoyed at people for them not changing. Like, why are you still there? You know, like, why are you so pressed that somebody else changes? Maybe they're comfortable with how they are and you're the one with the problem. So you need to move and take yourself to a place where you know you're going to feel wanted, or you're going to feel like whatever you're saying has value, or whatever it is that you're feeling slighted about that the other person has been doing. Because at the end of the day, you can only ever work on your character. You cannot be responsible for other people's characters, right? So work on your character, be the best that you can be. Don't let other people put you out of character, because you are who you are, and the people that are for you will find you. You don't have to. I say that though, but sometimes you need to move mad just a little bit, but 9 times out of 10 it's not warranted, but you might want to make a point. But I think sometimes if you look at it from that perspective of I'm gonna do what's best for me, and if somebody else is doing something that's putting me out of character, I'm gonna leave it. I think that's a great place to start 2022. You know, your friends from acquaintances, like, guys, this is really important. Not everybody is your friend. Some people are just your work colleagues, some people are just acquaintances, some people are just people you know or people you've met at an event. Like, not everybody eventually, you know, becomes like a friend in the true definition of the word, because obviously what you expect from friends differs from what you expect for somebody that you just know, like an acquaintance. Anyway, in my perspective. So like when you're doing things like end of year reviews and stuff like that, and you're just kind of going over how your year has been, those are some of the things you need to consider of who has been a friend to me this year, or who do I consider a friend and who do I consider as somebody that I just know. And then as a result, you'll be less frustrated because less expectations on people. If you can have no expectations of people, even better, because as I'm learning, gradually you just need to take people as they are, people as they come, and you have a choice in taking yourself out of situations. So if you feel like I've had enough of this particular situation, you can either talk about it. If you don't have the energy to talk about it, you know, you could always take yourself out of the situation. But I'm a firm believer of always trying to talk something through before you take yourself out of the situation, if you hear me. The thing that I kind of been thinking about is just like therapy. And for some reason, there's people that don't like going to therapy, but sometimes I'm thinking why? Because the benefits of going to therapy and speaking things through honestly outweigh a lot of stuff. So I think everybody in life needs to go to therapy, generally speaking, even if you're in a good place, because it's almost like, you know, the same way we tell ourselves like, oh, keep your body like in a good physical state, or look after yourself, watch what you're eating. I think it's the same with the mind. Like, you need to keep it in a constant state of you're trying to make sure things don't pile up, because what I've realized from my own perspective is that like things will pile up and pile up and pile up, and then I'll just blow one day, and that kind of blow is not constructive, because it comes with such force. You don't get time to reflect about what you're going to say. So things like that, you end up saying things to people that you don't necessarily mean, or that you ideally would not have said to them if you had just given yourself the time to understand what's going on with you and how you're dealing with whatever ish is going on with you at that time. Yeah. The other thing I was going to also speak on is investing, and like investing and saving, because obviously me, I try to save, try being the main word, but obviously life is life, isn't it? Sometimes life doesn't go as planned, sometimes you just have other things going on. What I've kind of tried to make more of an effort of is investing like money in things like stocks or crypto that I cannot just withdraw on a whim. So yeah, I know moving forward I probably need to get like a funds for emergencies, but the girl's not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But you know, things like that as well, where you just need to put yourself in a financially secure place so that you're not now out there worried about things that are most of the time out of your control. But if you kind of try to look further ahead and put money aside before problems arise, you might find that when they do arise, you can deal with them a bit better, because you kind of you pre-planned a little bit. That's been me. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share the video, share with your friends. If you liked it, leave a comment in the comment section below. This is from Market Jewelry. My friend made it, one of my best friends made it for me. Thanks, B. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.